Hey there, welcome to the cooking class. I am so excited to share this recipe. It's almost Thanksgiving here, and I saw these amazing acorn squash at the market and thought, I'm grabbing them. These are going to make a great stellar side dish for Thanksgiving. What I did is I cut these. You can get roughly about 3 frames per acorn squash. Remove the seeds, the pulp, and now you've got a perfect frame that you can start building inside. So taking your round steamer, what you're going to do, and I love the round steamer, but if you don't have it, you can use your multi-purpose steamer instead. And we are going to make this base with lentils. Now, lentils you can buy in a can, but it is so easy to make them at home. So let me show you how that's going to be done. All you need to do is grab a steamer. You are going to put in some water and some green lentils. Now you can buy red lentils as well, but red lentils turn to mush. So I highly recommend the green lentils, and don't buy split unless you're in a hurry. So that's 2 cups of water. We then add 1 cup of green lentils. And then what we're going to do, because it would be pretty boring if it was just water and lentils, right? So instead, I thought, what better way to infuse some extra flavor than to use our brand new Better Than Beef broth. This is amazing. We used to have a broth back in the day, but it was so good, and it's been missing. This, I was so excited when it showed up. I tasted it. It's as good, or may even be better than the last one. So grab your 4-in-1 spoon, and what you're going to do is, we're going to add lots of flavor. Grab the 1 tablespoon and insert it. Grab a full scoop, tuck it in there, give it a stir, and now we're going to throw it into the microwave. Now, I've tested this in my microwave. It takes about 16 minutes, but optimally, you want to taste it and make sure that they're fork tender. So check it. I'm thinking it's going to take at least 16 minutes. Next, you can do 2 options. You could either put this on the baking sheet, or if you're rushed for time and you just want to get life going with your cooking, we're going to steam our acorn squash. So what I've done here is I've basically taken 1 squash, and when I purchased it, I was looking more for a squash that was more square than like an acorn, that had like a fine point to it. So just so you can sort of see. This means that you will have less waste. So I've simply washed it. I've cut it into about 1-inch thicknesses, and I've removed the seeds. So to speed things up, I'm simply going to put these in the steamer. I'm not going to add anything in here except SPG. Now our salt, pepper, garlic is the perfect accompaniment to anything. You can leave this at the table, but I find that it just gives some extra depth of flavor on these. So just sprinkle this liberally. And I want to do both sides. This is going to steam in its natural juices. We're going to have that nice flavoring. We will eventually be putting these into the oven so that we can get that caramelization with baking. But to speed things up, as I mentioned, this is going to go into this microwave, and we're going to steam this for about 8 minutes so that it's nice, tender, ready, and then we can start adding our stuffing. So we're going to talk about that as well. Our lentils are now cooked. You can see all the liquid has been absorbed. And grabbing a fork, yummy. Okay, and now our acorn squash is ready. So it's coming all together really nicely now. I want to add some fall flavors to make this really a Thanksgiving treat. So I've got some dried cranberries. These are without extra sugar added. These ones are actually made with juice. So they are sweetened a bit because cranberries can be a little tart, but craisins are perfect for this. This was just a different brand that I happened to grab. As I couldn't find craisins in the grocery store I was shopping at that time. So I'm chopping them up just a little bit so they're not so big. We'll add these to our lentils. And I'm also going to add some pine nuts. Now, if you don't have pine nuts, don't feel like you have to put them in. I love making pesto from scratch. Pine nuts are a staple. Maybe not in your house, but certainly in mine. So I've got a 1/4 cup of pine nuts here, and I'm adding them in whole. We can give this just a little stir. And because it is Thanksgiving, the ingredients that I'm going to now get, you can see I've got my chopping board out and ready to roll, is I'm going to be adding parsnips and carrots. I've got some kale that I'm going to chop up and some red onion. If you don't have red onion, you can choose shallots or white onion. We're gonna saute these up. We're gonna put it all together and then we're gonna bake this up. So let's move over to the skillet area and get started with sauteing our onions and start building some flavor with one of our special meal solutions. So I mentioned I was going to add some additional flavors, and over the fall you'll probably notice that your root vegetables are starting to become very popular and probably less expensive in price. So we'll just add our carrots and chopped up parsnips. That's in the steamer that we just had our acorn squash in, so we're not making an extra big mess of having so many dishes to wash. This has a little bit of residual SPG in it. So here's the meal solution that we're going to be using today. This is our shepherd's pie. And the reason I chose this one to actually use is listen to the ingredients and imagine it inside here, adding that extra flavor with our squash and our kale, and of course our root vegetables. It's got onion, it's got some cornstarch so it thickens, it's got some tomato powder, it's got nutritional yeast, sea salt, garlic, mushrooms, black pepper, chives, thyme, celery salt, all those things that are just, in my opinion, really say Thanksgiving. So using your 4-in-1 spoon again, we're opening up this package. We do not need the whole package, but I do want to add some nice flavor because I've got that kale, and remember I've got that lentil that had the beef broth, but this has the extra flavor of those additional seasonings. Again, in this container with the lid on it, we're going to throw this in the microwave, and this is only going to take about 4 minutes. Butter in the skillet, and now it's time for us to start making some flavor using our onion and our minced garlic. So let's just get our onion in here for now. And we're going to saute it. As I mentioned, you could use red onion, shallots, white onion. And we're just going to let this sweat a little bit. Of course, having that extra butter in there is going to make it really tasty. We're grabbing our minced garlic. And just so you know, this is a kitchen staple. Why do I say that? Is rather than having bulbs of garlic, this is all dried for you. So inside here, you're going to find actual granules of minced garlic already done up for you. It says, keep it in stock, keep it simple, ready when you need it. Half a teaspoon is equivalent to 1 garlic clove. I've got some great flavorings already happening. So with our 4-in-1 spoon, we're going to go down to this end, which is our 1 teaspoon. 1 teaspoon is the equivalent to 2 garlic cloves. And I'm just going to let the onions sort of simmer, sweat a little bit, and release the essence of the garlic as well in here. It's not going to take much, maybe just a couple minutes. So our parsnips and carrots, fresh out of the microwave, steamed. Make sure, check them with your fork, that they are tender crisp. We don't want them like mush, so you can see the fork goes in there nicely. A little bit of a crunch still there, exactly how I want it. Our onions are done. Let's just put this all together. So there's our cooked carrots, our cooked parsnip. Of course, we've got the flavor of our shepherd's pie in there. Grabbing our lentils that we have cooked, that we've added the additional cranberries and pine nuts in. And I can turn the heat off. I'm just realizing it's still cooking. We're going to give some fun food facts in just a minute here. Blend all this up. I'm turning this off. As I mentioned, everything's really at this point pre-cooked. We just want to get the flavors melding before we add it into our beautiful squash. Throw some chopped up kale. And this is just for color. If you don't have it, you don't have to use it. If you want to use broccolini, that would be a great accessory. If you wanted to just add some green edamame beans would be great in here, even green beans. But if you're doing either of those two, make sure that you steam the edamame or the green beans with your carrots and parsnips so they're cooked. As this is kale, kale is sort of like spinach. It doesn't need a lot of cooking, but it's going to add the color to make it look absolutely stunningly amazing. So as you can see, I've got my baking sheet here. We've got our pre-cooked. These are more or less fork tender, right? You can see the fork goes in there just fine. It's not mush. And it's simply a matter of now taking your mix, filling these in, and we're going to pop it into the oven and bake this up. Now, if you have any leftovers, do not throw this out. Even without the squash, this would make a great side dish and will hold up really, really well. So grab your, little container and fill it full and tuck it aside in the fridge. And over the course of your Thanksgiving weekend, feel free to pull it out. It would be good with your leftover turkey, or if you have ham, or even if you're doing a vegetarian, that would be perfectly fine. So here we go. Notice I made a little bit of a mess, but we'll fix this up. These are ready to go in the oven. As I said, everything's cooked. We're just wanting to get some caramelization and maybe remove some of the extra moisture, but build those flavors. Off into the oven it's going to go, and it's only going to take, 10 to 12 minutes just to pull it all together. So how do we pick acorn squash? What is the best way? As I showed you, I grabbed one that was more compact. It wasn't shaped sort of like a heart. And that way I can get more of the slices I wanted. So that was important for me. But acorn squash is actually one of the more nutritious of the squashes. And it's not actually a winter squash. What makes a winter squash anyway? Well, that's the thickness of the skin. So things like butternut squash or spaghetti squash, you'll notice they have really, really thick skins. When you grab the acorn squash, you're going to notice that it's a lot thinner. In fact, it's more relatable to zucchini. When you're purchasing this, not only can you look for, in this point, the size, the shape of it, but look for acorn squash that has more a dull, dark green color. Not a shiny one. Shiny one usually indicates that it was picked when it wasn't ripe. And so the duller one is better. Now, sometimes it gets impossible for you to figure that out because some grocers actually put wax over top of the acorn squash. So it does look shiny. So it can be a little bit deceptive, but take a look at it. Another way that you can tell if you've got a good squash that's picked at the right time is if it's got a little bit of orange on it, that tells you that it was ripening. So it obviously was at the right spectrum to actually be pulled. That being said, don't buy acorn squash that has too much orange because it was picked when it was too late. It was overripe. So I hope that helps you with acorn squash. You're going to love the flavor. Of course, as I said, it's much more nutritious than a lot of the squashes that are out there. I also work today with lentil, and lentil is of course a real big staple in the Indian population. They call it dal, and they use it in their curries and their gravies, but it is really low in calories, low in fat, high in protein, and high in fiber. So if you need to get things moving in that direction, lentil is your best friend. Now, split lentils, just so you know, when you purchase those, it just means that they'll cook a lot faster. The ones I used today were whole green lentils. They take a little bit more time. It took me 16 minutes in the steamer with 1 cup, basically, to 1 3/4 cup of water. And by cooking that in the steamer, all the moisture got soaked in there, and you get that really nice, chewable, umami kind of flavor. I love the green lentils. So I guess I have to stop sharing my fun food facts, because we are going to pull out, get my roll-up rack here, which is essential for Thanksgiving, because look at this size. Perfect for your roaster and your turkey. Grab that out. I'm going to grab both my oven mitts. Well, actually, I think I can just do one. It's not that heavy. If I was doing a turkey, I'd be using both. And here we go. We have our final product, our stuffed acorn squash. Because some of these actually do not have a bottom to them, make sure that you use one of our sliding flippers, so something that will actually get underneath there, and scoop it and carefully move it over to the plated tray of the turkey. Flavors, the color, to me, it just screams Happy Thanksgiving. So on that note, I want to thank you so much for watching tonight's cooking class. I hope you have a fabulous time if you're celebrating our Canadian Thanksgiving. I believe this is going to be a dish, a side dish for your meal that you're going to love. Yes, it took a little bit more time, but isn't your family worth it? I will see you back here another time, Thursday, 3 p.m. on my Facebook page. I look forward to sharing some great, amazing ideas and showing you how you can take things like our shepherd's pie and convert it into something totally different. Bye for now.